Well, it's a phrase of another time. How about credible deterrence? That's a new goal from NATO, and most certainly Secretary of Defense Ashton Carter. Maybe the new NATO goal, it's a little bit like the old NATO goal. We have whispers of 1965. Hans Nichols has been more than busy in Brussels looking at Greece, but he and we and you must consider these important NATO meetings. Hans, the New York Times, Eric Schmidt and Stephen Lee Myers. I love paragraph 4 this morning. 2 days before, a B-52 dropped 9 dummy bombs radioed in by the Latvians on the ground 180 miles from Russia. Hans, you're too young. That's out of my junior high school period.
Yeah, well, except that the Latvians weren't radioing them in at that point. The difference is that the NATO borders have expanded eastward, which is what's aggravating Vladimir Putin. Look, here's the most important number on all of this. It's the number of troops in Europe. Right now, there are about 65,000 U.S. troops in Europe. In the mid-90s, there were 300,000. And you talk about what Ash Carter actually announced, what he was doing in Tallinn when he was in Estonia. He's in Brussels today for the meetings. 250 tanks, mobile howitzers, and armored vehicles. That's not a lot. Yes, it's symbolic, but this isn't a massive force restructuring moving to the east.
Yeah, this is one brigade. It seems, Hans, from where we're sitting, that this is less about actual deterrence and more about reassuring allies like Poland and Estonia and Latvia and Lithuania that Article 5 will be invoked if push comes to shove.
Yeah. Look, the problem with assuring Eastern allies of NATO that Article 5 will be invoked is that you need to have other NATO allies also stand by it. And there isn't, at least rhetorically, I mean, there's, a few comments out over the last 48 hours that no one's going to go to war for Estonia. So there is a concern, right, and this is front and center here in NATO and also at The Hague, that you now have a two-tiered NATO system. You have the old NATO and you have the new NATO. And it's also this question of what is NATO, right? I mean, we went through this with Libya, but it was NATO that was really running the operation in Libya. Now, that's not NATO's remit. If NATO turns into something that's just a rapid response for force for the entire globe that happens to be based in Europe, that's something different than what it was designed to be.
Hans, this feels like a bad movie script out of Hollywood. There's going to be a confrontation on these new borders. Something stupid's going to happen. Should I worry about that?
I mean, of the universe of things to worry about, yeah, it's up there. I mean, but I don't have any particular insight on how close we are. I mean, we use the phrase 5 minutes to midnight a lot on the Greece discussion. I have no, and I don't think anyone does, how close we are to a midnight-type moment where we have some sort of accident along the eastern rim of what is the new NATO borderline. One thing about this, Ash Carter thinks in terms of generations, right? When President Barack Obama was thinking of his third Secretary of Defense, he wanted someone that thought long and thought big.
Right. Hans Nichols, thank you so much. Greatly appreciated. Double duty out of Brussels.